Hi there everyone. So in this video, I'm going to go over questions 4.6 and 4.7 of the assessment you've recently completed. So I'll just share with you my video, my PowerPoint. Here we go. Okay, so 4.6. So for this question, you need to first of all study the photograph, which shows the effects of a flood in the UK. You then need to explain how this flood has had an economic impact on the area shown in the figure. So it has to relate to this area that you can see. So let's have a think about the meaning behind the term economic impact. Now, an economic impact refers to either a loss or a gain of money for a business, or perhaps it may include someone losing their job. Okay, so it's how the local economy has been affected, how has money been lost because of this situation, how may people lose money because of this situation. Okay, so let's have a think about what we can see. So in the photograph, we can see that farmers' fields have been flooded. You can see here, for example, is one area which has been flooded. I mean, underneath this floodwater could have been a field of crops, meaning that farmer would have lost out on profit that year as the crops would have been destroyed by the floodwater. They would not have been able to survive numbers of days and weeks submerged in water. Okay, so the farmer may lose money. You can also see that people's houses have been flooded. Then you'd assume that this would cause a loss of money to that individual person. Hopefully, if they have insurance, house insurance, then the cost of the damage will be covered by the insurance company, which is also an economic impact. But if not, then the individuals will be expected to cover that themselves. You could also assume that businesses in the local area have been forced to close and have also been flooded in this instance. Okay, so these businesses could be perhaps a corner shop, with it being a small settlement. It might be a local pub, it might be a post office. So an economic impact of a shop flooding would cause would mean that the stock has been damaged, a loss of trade. People might not have been able to get to work in the shop. The shop might be forced to close due to a loss of profit. So there are a number of economic impacts that you can see in this photograph. Now, as it's out of 4, I would advise identifying 2 economic impacts that would have occurred as a result of this situation. So you could have structured your answer as follows. Okay, you could have written, in figure 15, I can see that, and then write down how that will affect the economy. Now, if you did that twice, that would be an easy way of achieving 4 marks. Okay, so let's have a look at an example answer. So you could have written, in figure 15, I can see that roads are blocked by the floodwater. Okay, by writing this sentence, the examiner recognizes that you are linking your information, your understanding to the scenario. So you're applying your knowledge to the scenario. This will affect the economy because businesses in the village will not be able to open, which will cause them to lose money. This may then cause unemployment if a business had to close. Okay. You could then write, in figure 15, I can also see that farmers' fields are flooded. This will affect the economy because crops will be submerged, causing the local farming community to lose money. Okay, so try to develop your points further when you're responding to an explained question. So, for example, in this answer here, we've put businesses in the village will not be able to open. Okay, and then you think about, well, what will happen then if they can't open? Well, they'll lose money. Okay, or alternatively, it may cause employment in the long run if a business had to close. So the exam board have given a variety of alternatives which you could have written, which are as follows. I'll just put these up for you to read, and then you can pause the video if you want to read them in a little bit more detail. Each of these bullet points would have been worth 2 marks. Okay, so pause the video if you want to read them through, otherwise continue with me. Okay, so the final question I'm going to go through in this tutorial is question 4.7. Okay, so for this question, you need to first of all study the waterfall which has been photographed in figure 16. Now, you need to explain the processes involved in the formation of the landform shown. This question is worth 6 marks, which means you'll need to apply your knowledge to the question. We will mark it following the leveled system. So level 1 will be a basic answer, 1 to 2 marks. Level 2 will be a clear answer, 3 to 4 marks. And level 3 will be a detailed answer, which is 5 and 6 marks. And within those level 3 answers, we want to see you outlining the physical processes responsible for the formation of the landforms, and you need to be applying this knowledge to the figure by commenting on the things that you can see in the photograph. So let's go over those physical processes. So the 3 main types of physical processes are erosion, transportation, and deposition. Within the categories of erosion and transportation are 4 separate types. So on this slide here, you can see the 4 different types of erosion. We have hydraulic action, which is where the water compresses air within cracks, causing the cracks to widen, weakening the side of a river or a cliff face if it was at the coast. Attrition is where the load entrained within the water's flow collide and become smaller. So if two rocks collided, fragments will chip away and it becomes smaller. Abrasion is that sandpapering, scouring effect of rocks and pebbles rolling along the riverbed. And solution is where there is a chemical reaction between the river water and the geology, the rock type in the area. Okay. The different types of transportation are as follows. You have suspension, where the smallest material, the smallest grains of clay and sediment carried by the river are floating, they're entrained within the water's flow. Traction is where larger boulders and pebbles roll along the riverbed. Saltation is when smaller pebbles bounce along the riverbed. And solution is where the dissolved minerals are carried in the river water. So erosional processes are all about how the water wears away the land, and transportation is then how the material is moved. Okay, so for this question, you need to apply those physical processes to the formation of a waterfall and also a gorge, which will form in front of the waterfall, which you can see here. So this is a step process. So a waterfall will form where there is a change in rock type, where the geology changes from a harder rock or a more resistant rock to a softer rock, a less resistant rock. The soft rock erodes more easily, and so a step in the landscape will form over time. Okay, so the reason the soft rock erodes easily is because it is weaker. Now, within the upper course, you'll have large angular boulders and rocks rolling along the riverbed, which is traction. Now, because these boulders and large pebbles will be rolling on the riverbed, they will scour it deeper and deeper through the erosional process of abrasion. So abrasion will cause the step in the landscape because you have large rocks and boulders rolling along the riverbed being moved via the process of traction. Now, once that step in the landscape has formed, hydraulic action will come into play. So the force of the water falling over that step will cause the soft rock to deepen in front of the hard rock. So here, the force of the water falling, cascading over that hard rock, causes the riverbed to deepen within the soft rock. And this is where what we call a plunge pool will form, so a deeper area of the riverbed immediately in front of the waterfall, the drop in the landscape. Any rocks and pebbles that have been eroded from the valley sides in the upper course will be rolling along this river here via traction, and they will also fall into the plunge pool. They'll be spinning around, eroding the plunge pool deeper and also wider through the process of abrasion. What will happen is the soft rock will erode backwards, okay, undercutting, forming an overhang. Okay, so this plunge pool will become deeper and wider, causing the soft rock to retreat backwards, leaving an overhanging part of the rock. This overhanging part of the waterfall will eventually collapse, adding to the material in the plunge pool. So, to answer this question, you need to explain how hydraulic action, abrasion, traction, and traction are responsible for the formation of a waterfall and a plunge pool in this photograph. You may also comment on the fact that the waterfall will retreat upstream over time, causing a steep-sided valley known as a gorge to form. Okay. In the foreground of this photograph, you can see that deposition has occurred as the material within the plunge pool has been released and then deposited either side of the river here, where there is a slower flow. During times of snow melt or heavy rainfall, the amount of water in this river channel, the discharge will increase, the volume of the water, meaning that this the deposited material might actually be moved downstream during times of high flow or spate. Okay, so I hope you found this video beneficial. Please have another go at this question if you still don't feel confident, and send your new response to your class teacher, as it is a likely question to come up at some point in your mocks or even your future exam. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Bye now.